Hello and welcome to another tutorial for making stellar things. Today I'm going to show you how to embroider a skull like this one that I have on the pair of shorts. Full confession, I was hoping to have this out in time for Dia de los Muertos since it is a Dia de los Muertos inspired skull. There's marigold right there. Clearly that didn't happen, but better late than never. I made this pair of shorts actually from a pair of, I think they were boys jeans that I got at a neighbor's yard sale for $1. It was one of those things that I found and I said, well, this kind of sort of fits and I'll find something to do with it. That's what I like to do with clothes. So I got the pair of jeans, I made them into shorts. I was sitting there thinking, what do I do? And then I realized that, wow, a skull with all of the colors would totally pop on the black shorts. After I did this and I showed my mother, she said, I want one. So today I'm going to show you how to do one on a back pocket of a pair of jeans. Now, before we get going, let me give you my disclaimer. I am a beginner at embroidery. This is like my 5th project. That means that this is a beginner project. So it's great if that's your skill level, and if you're more advanced, then kudos to you. I'm sure it'll turn out much nicer than mine. A lot of the stitches that we're going to use are really simple. So even if you've never done any embroidery and you've just done like basic hand sewing, you should be able to follow along. Anything that's more complicated, I'll try and break it down really slowly. And if you do have questions, just leave them in the comments. I will do my best to help you, or I will point you to the video of somebody who is much better at embroidery than I am. And without further ado, let's get going. In addition to being easy to make, the skull embroidery project also doesn't take a ton of materials. Obviously, you're going to need your pants or fabric or whatever you're putting the embroidery on, as well as an embroidery needle. This is a standard size needle that came in one of those kits that you get online. And that's also where I had the thread left over from. I have 6 different colors: a tan for the outline of the skull, a marigold for the flower on the top, this lilac color for the eyes, and then 3 accent colors. You can do more accent colors, fewer, use some of the body colors, if you will, for the accents, whatever feels right. And I also have gold. If you'll notice on the original project, I have gold woven around the skull as well as in the eyes for the pupils. It's optional. You can use a different color if you want to do that same kind of accent but don't want gold. You can just forgo it entirely, whatever feels right. I have a 3-inch embroidery hoop, which fits really nicely on the back of a pair of pants. If you're doing a bigger size, you can totally scale this project up. Then you might want a bigger hoop though. And I also have scissors and some tailor's chalk to mark it out in advance. You can just go for it if you're feeling confident. I personally like to draw things out in advance. And I also like to draw it out on a piece of paper before I get going. This is just kind of the bare bones and we don't have any of the accent pieces on there yet. That's the point. Those come later. But this is kind of what that sketch is going to look like. So you'll notice there's the outline of the skull and this kind of upside down heart shape for the nose, a flat line for the mouth. And then the eyes, I have 2 circles with 6 points around and then 1 in the middle. And then the marigold, or where the marigold will be on top, are 2 concentric circles. I kind of free-handed the outline of the skull and the heart shape. I absolutely traced for the circles, so feel free to do the same with whatever objects you have lying around your house. I think this was chapstick and that was a penny, so you probably have those things around to trace it, but also if you're really good at circles, feel free to freehand. So we are now going to draw this onto the pants pocket, get our hoop in place, and start embroidering. Once your design is drawn on, you're ready to get started with the first color, which is the bone or white or whatever color you're using for the outline. This is going to be a simple back stitch around the outline of the skull, the mouth, the nose, the 2 eyes, plus some little stitches for the teeth. For the back stitch, you bring your needle up through the back of the work and down through the top. Bring your next stitch up through the back and a bit past where you did the first one, and then back down to where the last stitch was. Keep doing that all the way around and you'll end up with a little outline of continuous stitches. Next are the eyes, which I'm doing in this pinky lilac color with a lazy daisy stitch, and if you've ever embroidered a basic flower before, this stitch may be familiar. I'm doing one with 6 petals or points, but you can do it with however many points you want. You just want to make sure that you have 1 point on the outside for however many petals you want in the end, and then the one in the middle. So you're going to start by bringing your needle up through that point in the middle and then back down right in the same spot. Don't pull it tight just yet. Keep a small loop, then go through the back of the work up into one of the 6 points on the outside and bring your thread through the inside of the loop that you made. Now you're going to pull it tight, but you don't want to pull it too tight. You want to make sure that you still keep some of the rounded petal shape.
and then bring your needle down on the outside of the loop back into that same outer point that you went up through and pull it tight. And you're going to do the same thing on all your points in both eyes. Try to leave a little bit of space in the center point, which is where you're going to put your pupil in later.
We're going to work on the marigold next, which is the most complicated part of this pattern, but it's actually really easy. And I think it's one of those things that looks more complicated than it is to make. So you can see I have 3 finished petals already. So you get a sense of what the finished piece looks like. And you'll notice that I have those 2 concentric circles. So to do this stitch, you're going to start by pulling your needle up through the back side of your work. And you want to keep these close together. And then you're going to go just to the left of it and a tiny bit through the fabric, not through anything else, just a little bit through the fabric, and leave your needle in just like that, but maybe kind of push it most of the way through. It'll just be a little easier to work with. Then you're going to take your thread, you're going to wrap it around the outside of your finger, then the inside, and then you're going to slide that loop off onto your needle. Don't pull it too tight, and then you're going to make 10 of those. And once you have your 10, you are going to hold them kind of together in place, pull your needle through everything, and pull all of your thread through as well. And you're going to end up with a little bit of a loop. You're going to go back down through there in between where you went up and where you went across. Pull that, then you're going to go up on the outer concentric ring through the outside, just like you did on the Lazy Daisy, and you want to keep the petals pretty close to each other. Pull it through, back in, and you have a finished petal. Then you're just going to go right next to it. Start that same process again. Now that we have all of the basic parts of the skull down, it's time for the embellishments, which is either going to be the final stage or the second to last stage if you're adding the gold accents. And I have my 3 accent colors already prepped. Each of them has a needle and they're all tied off, so I can easily pick one up, switch between them while I'm working. If you only have one needle, you'll just either want to do all one color at a time or switch the needle around between colors. I just like working this way because then you can kind of let the creativity flow and put the different accents wherever you want. The accents are totally whatever feels right to you, whatever you think looks best. I'm just going to show you what I am doing. And all of these are going to be either French knots or basic back stitches. So you already know the back stitch, which means we can get started, and we'll do a French knot for the first one to show you how if you've never done one before. It's almost similar to the marigold, not quite. So I'm going to start with one. Actually, we're going to go right down in here. So you want to stick your needle up through the work, pull it all the way through, and then kind of the opposite of the French knot. So you're going to wrap it around the needle that way once, twice, and then back down in pretty much right where you came out of. And you want to keep this a little bit of tension, but not too tight because you want to be able to get the needle through. Oh, it's a little hard. I think I went through the knot down there on the bottom. Keep on pulling it all the way through, and a French knot. Beautiful. So we're going to do another one, and I'm doing mirror image on the embellishments. You do not have to do that. You can do whatever works best, and I'm just doing everything as one piece of thread so I don't have so many loose ends. So back to the mirror side, around the needle again. Needle goes back into your work. Pull it kind of taut, but not too taut. And pull the whole thing through. Beautiful. So I have my 2 little French knots there in the pink. Next, I want to add like a little 3-line kind of flourish up at the top. And we're just going to do like some simple stitches for this one. So let's start. We're going to do a back stitch. So I want to start right back there. So I'm just freehanding this, so we'll see how it turns out. So I'm now working on the optional gold embellishment, which is this kind of outline around all of the skull parts. And you can see how it looks when it's all finished there. The way that you do this is super simple. You're just going to take your gold thread, and this is thread, not embroidery floss, so I have it doubled over and tied at the end like you would for sewing. And you're going to go under the stitch, but not through the fabric, and pull it through. Same thing all around on these gold accented parts. Once you finish with the gold accents around the outside, you're going to add the pupils to the eyes, which are French knots. Although because the thread that I'm using is much thinner than embroidery floss, I'm going to wrap it 5 times. Get like a chunky French knot going. Now for the big reveal. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to embroider a skull back pocket, and I hope that you will go out and make some stellar things of your own.